Morning, everybody. Michelle is here. Michelle is here. December the 8th, 2024. And it's on Sunday. Sunday. I rested very well last night. I told you, I'm not sure if I said this, but there's a lot of noise that comes from off the street into these apartments because these buildings are old. It's an old building. But it is a temporary situation for me right now. I want to live a certain way since I retired as a first responder. I just want to live a certain way and get some hands-on experiences as to what it's like to be in a so-called distressed, unpopular environment, and how there's a lot of deception and manipulation about how people live, but because we interfere so much, and that's the intention, especially from the so-called leadership, is to interfere in our lives and just create havoc and misinformation, deception and manipulation. Okay, this particular situation as I'm living is it has a perception that is all black people that live here, black and Spanish people live in these kind of neighborhoods, and that's anything but the truth. And so, but it is always portrayed in such a way that there's some people on the good side of on the right side of the tracks or the left side of the tracks or whatever those terminologies are. And black culture for centuries, decades and centuries have been labeled as the wrong side of the track. However, a lot of people are realizing that was a false narrative, an intentional false narrative, because I grew up in black culture and we had everything we needed there until the interference started. And the interference started, I don't know, I'm not sure how long it started, but it started being implemented in the 70s and the 80s, and then it just went on and on and on and on. And the intention was to break up black culture. Nobody wants to admit that, but now there's documentation to prove it. And so non-black people are realizing that the wool had been intentionally pulled over their eyes too, to give this impression and illusion about what's good and bad, what is right and wrong, who's poor and who's not poor. So anyway, last night, for some reason, it was really quiet on the streets. Normally it isn't. People are revving their engines intentionally, revving, just causing a lot of noise and disturbing the young people over here, these children, because I'm near a school. There are a lot of children in this neighborhood, but there's also all walks of life of people here, all age ranges too. Okay, so just consider where you actually live and get out of your house or get out of your delusion and hallucination about what type of neighborhood you live in. Okay, because as a first responder, the worst type of behaviors and actions occurred in these so-called affluent neighborhoods. These so-called well-off neighborhoods had the most chaos and destruction. And a lot of officers, at least from where I came from, and I'm sure it's everywhere, refused to work in affluent neighborhoods. Okay, they'd rather go into these so-called distressed communities because it was, they had a free range to do whatever they wanted, and no one was held accountable, or it was always justified. But if those officers go into those affluent communities work the hell out of police officers. Okay, they work the hell out of them, make them earn their salary. So that's why a lot of officers refuse to work in those neighborhoods. They'd rather be in, like I said, the distressed communities, because they can be cowboys and Indians. I know that's a derogatory term, but the behavior and actions support that that certain police officers believe, and they have support to back up that they can do whatever they want in black communities or non-white communities. They can go in there and do whatever they want, whether it's victimizing witnesses, victimizing those that are already victims, and so they can do whatever they want, and we have documentation to prove it. But once they go into these affluent neighborhoods, the affluent neighborhoods can call out some of these so-called bad apples, and that's what I said. I put out this a long time ago, that if you take white police officers out of black communities or people of color communities and put them into the so-called elite and white neighborhoods or whatever, okay, you'll see a difference. And I suggest all law enforcement, what do you have to lose? Test that out, and you'll find out who's the bad guy and who's the good guy. Okay, police officers have been allowed to go into these non-white communities and create mayhem, and they are usually the ones wearing the robes at night, okay? And we know what robe I'm talking about. And victimizing these communities, targeting these communities, causing mayhem and discord, and giving the illusion with the help of the media, to paint certain communities as a bad apple or bad communities. My black culture was not a bad culture. We had great modeling in my culture that I grew up in. And my parents were great models as to how to be proper citizens and how to behave accordingly. Now, were there problems? Hell yeah. We had all types of personalities in those communities. That's why, we had drug dealers, we had cross-dressers, we had prostitution, we had domestic violence, we had bullying. All of the elements needed actually to become a genuine human being in a true sense, meaning you need those type of life experiences and be able to, get over it, to make the best of your evolution. Your evolution needs life experiences, okay? So I got plenty of videos on that. I would suggest you kind of research it, my channel, go through there and understand how we've all been made a fool of. And black culture has been attempting to sound the alarm for centuries, as I said. But the media helped to suppress and oppress black culture more specifically, to paint it as a picture of, chaos. And yes, it was that way because they allowed the Ku Klux Klan, who were also Ku Klux Klan that were actually police officers. They were police officers during the day and KKK during the night. Allowed them to have free range in black culture, and their whole intention was to destroy it. There's documentation to prove it. And all I say to non-black people is to open up and allow these truths to come through to you. Yes, it's painful, but the truth is a threat as well, because I can guarantee you that the majority of the population knew how certain cultures were treated, we would have such different outcomes. Okay, I told you about the Jim Jones experience, where politicians were involved in that from all walks of life. Politicians from the left, the right, the center, wherever. A lot of religious people were involved in that. So-called high-profile entertainers were involved in that, and the whole intention was to break down get the perception that the black culture was such a problem. And then the whole intentions was to take them to another country. The whole intentions was to take black people, black Americans that are genuine American citizens, but to take black Americans out of America and take them elsewhere. They were headed to Africa, but something happened, and so they ended up in South America. Okay, and they used Jim Jones, the psychopath, sociopath, narcissistic, pathological liar, to be so-called ahead of this. But let me just be honest with you. Jim Jones wasn't the only villain in this. There were black Americans as well involved. There were a lot of religious figures involved as well, high profile. So all of their hands are bloody. Okay, some of those black politicians, those black entertainers, those black influential personalities, some of them still alive today. Okay, a lot of them are dying off. And so thankfully, a lot of this stuff was uncovered. Otherwise, there's a lot of stuff that's still buried and potentially destroyed. Okay, but, some people if you're creative, you'll find it. And if anybody ought to be pissed off is the so-called quote unquote white America. Okay, you have been, just as much a puppet and pawns in these deceptions and manipulations and indoctrinations, okay? But yet you still are responsible for your research and your discerning just as well as anyone else. So the results of what we have right now is not surprising at all. If you pay attention by suspending your ego, your labels, whatever you think you are, and look at things more in a logical, rational, and reasonable way, you'll understand, because this is probability, it's calculations, this is about math, and you'll figure out, okay, it's always, and a lot of people even say this, there's a lot of wisdom being spoke, but it's not coming out in behaviors and actions, unfortunately. But a lot of people are coming forward and realizing they were used as pawns as well. And, and they realized a lot of people just were not thinking for themselves. A lot of so-called agencies of law enforcement were paying attention to, the wrong elements of people as to how to govern people, how to, and so black culture was not on the list of protect and serve. That's obvious. That's documented. Okay. The KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, the majority of them are police officers, okay, or were police officers, or were in the law enforcement capacity, and they still are today, okay? So just keep that in mind. At the same time, realize that, like I said, we all have been made a fool of, all of us. We've all been made a fool of. And so a lot of people are waking up to understanding what that was all about, thankfully. A lot of damage has been done, and it's irreversible, especially when it regards our climate. We have been in a climate destruction since the first earthquake, okay? Since the first earthquake, the first hurricane, that's when we were in a climate destruction. It was no longer a crisis. So I'm going to come back in a moment and talk about some things, but I just want to put this is like an extra special edition of interpersonal relationships, and how, if we don't change our thinking modes, which I doubt a lot of us will, the devastation is going to be acute, and sadly, a lot of you are going to be witnessing it firsthand. Oh, and I want to send peace and love on this Sunday. I have a lot of things to do next week, and the week, until the end of the year. So, because I'm preparing myself for whatever happens with the changing of the guards. And so we just need to take our heads out of the sand and vow to be kind and gentle with ourselves, to understand what the truth is and why so much information was suppressed and oppressed from all of us. Okay? Peace and love, and trust me, I'll be back.